I mean, when people find themselves in a situation where that level of sort of mistrust and shenanigans are going on at that level, when nothing can take the wind out of a project manager's day other than like, yeah, I guess uh, this is just how we do things, and obviously that's how you get the level of client services. And like, again, do you want that person talking to your client, to your customer who feels that way? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, upwind, we're talking about those meetings at the, like Q1 strategy meeting. Like, honestly, it's the only thing that you should be talking about is how successfully, like, how do your clients and your customers think that you're doing? Like when they can't get said person on the phone because they're in meetings all day and they're just rushing through all the things. Why do you think project managers give shitty customer service a lot of the time? Because they want to? Not necessarily. No. But the bandwidth that they have to do that, it's the last thing on their list. And I cannot tell you how absolutely inverted that is of priorities. That is the first thing. That is the only thing. It obviously, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. Inbox is infrastructure. It's the whole email thing. Email is not a workflow. Meetings are not a workflow. It's not how it works. It's just not. It's just not. And we do it, and there's other ways around it. But organizationally, structurally, it is a bear. It's a bear to people are just the further you go up the chain, the less people are interested in changing anything like that, because it feels like everything's so broken. I mean, like literally, it is the backbone. It's like, so I can't just suggest that we're all going to have back surgery and remove them all, and everyone's going to have no backbone or no. We're going to be unmoored if we think about taking away the project management out of email of it all. But there are ways to move towards something that looks a little bit different from that. We'll get into that. Number 3, so 5 signals you're in a broken workflow. Number 1, power over process. Number 2, inbox is infrastructure. Number 3, nothing moves unless you push it. So as a project manager, that's the thing. Someone somewhere told the greatest lie ever told about project management, which is it is one person's individual job to move the work around the organization by heroic effort alone. That's not how it's supposed to be. And people keep you on the hook for it, because if you keep doing that, then no one has to fix what's wrong. Workflow gaps, like, you are the gap. You're filling the gap. That is not what the job description of a project manager, a successful one, a good one, an effective one, is to just run around chasing all of the work to just make sure it keeps moving. It in of itself, work is movement. It's the whole point of it all. So if those structures and things are put in place, those, again, I hate to use the word process in the way without talking about it holistically. It just sounds like it's way too broad for this part of the conversation, but we can't get into that yet. So just take it for what it is. You know what I mean by that. Work does not move unless you push it, right? That's why people stay late. That's why they don't go on vacation. That's why they're checking their email at home. Because if they didn't send that follow-up email, or even just that ridiculous, did you get my email? Like, really? Really? That's like, we're still there. We're still there. That's what project managers do. They just keep doing that at scale, and it's horrendous. Number 3, the real work happens after 5 p.m. You know where I'm going with all this, right? Because if you're in meetings all day, you're clarifying all those things, and the amount of admin that it takes in order to report, compile, and regurgitate this information, because a project doesn't stop doing this, and it's required of it because of movement until the project ends. So all day long, all the things. When you're inundated with it all day, you really just have a minute at 5 p.m. where you're like, oh my God, now I could get some work done. That's also not how it's supposed to work. And then number 5, which is basically like, kind of just hits the point home. You are the shock absorber. Like, you are the one. You are the load-bearing wall of workflow. And that's not also how it's supposed to be. You are absorbing organizational dysfunction by job description. Also incorrect. So, where are we going with this? Okay, so this is one way out. This is a life preserver, and again, this is not prescriptive. This is not to say that these things will be fixed because you do this, but again, you'll know where I'm going with it. Diagnostic thinking. If you don't know what is wrong, first of all, how are you existing in it, right? Like, if you don't know what the problem is and it's just pummeling you every day, but you're unsure as to what exactly the problem is, I mean, it's not your problem. to know. It's not your problem to fix, which is where a lot of people obviously get into the sort of complacency and the apathy of it all. The quiet quitting is that it's just really not your job to figure it out or fix it. But isn't it though? Because it's just like at least your own patch of land. Figure it out for your own sake, for your own sake alone. I mean, why wouldn't you? Is the question. Challenge me on that. Why wouldn't you? Give me a good reason why you wouldn't want to know more, and I'll tell you why. This is how I think of it, right? So diagnostic thinking. That's really a huge part of what I'm getting after, is that if you are a practitioner of your work and you really know what it is that's wrong and you can name it, like you would diagnose it, those are where the solutions are. That's just the way it is, right? So this is, again, this is a bumper sticker moment. If you don't intimately understand your workflow, how are you managing risk? How are you accepting a deadline when all of the dependencies throughout your organization are unknown to you? How are you saying yes? How is anyone, again, like I said, I'm going to be the Karen of project managers. Like, can I talk to your manager, please? How are you in a workflow that your project managers are accepting deadlines that they have no idea, even the baselines of how long it takes to do things, that when they send something off to another department, that's a dependency. If they don't know what those time frames even are, like, oh, I sent it to legal. Have you heard back? No, I followed up. And no. If you don't know, how are you managing time? How are you managing anything if you don't know what it is? I mean, wow, that's a blind spot. But that's just what people do because, like I said, it can't be from the bottom up. It's like most project managers earlier on in their career. It took me 30 years to be this grumpy about everything to try to figure stuff out. But that's just not where you are. If you're a project manager, you're like, I don't know, just like this is part of my job. I'm supposed to follow up with, you just keep following up. And I guess that the danger is that if there's really good project managers, they will stay exactly where they are to fill those gaps. And people aren't necessarily interested in promoting them either because they're too good to leave some of those gaps, because then people would have to fix them and they don't have solutions for it. So they look for people who are going to be that person who's going to be, the hero of it all. But heroes can turn into villains really, really quickly when it doesn't work. It's also easy to have somebody to blame. It's the age-old trap, right? So if you don't know risk, how are you managing it, right? So if you don't understand, and again, I say map your workflow. In a way, I'm a very visual person. I mean that literally for me. It's like, think of it sort of like as like a 3D map of everything that you need to do in order to get your job done. All of the little, bips and bobs along the way, all the people that are involved, every person that touches it, all the things. If you don't know your lay of the land, if you don't know your way around town, if you don't have all of that mapped out, that you truly understand it inside and out and from every direction, that would be my first step, is you write that down on a napkin, on a piece of paper. I don't care. Digital program, there's a million of those. You can do it in Figma, in all sorts of digital tools. I'm very, I like to draw. I like to write things down. I draw everything. So in my mind, I picture sort of like a plane of this sort of 3D world of like building a city of every single thing that has to do with a job that I'm being given. Let's just put that out there. Build the world. It's like world building. And you start to recognize when one thing goes to the next thing, like what might be missing or structurally damaged or potentially needs some wayfinding. You will find where the gaps are. And then most times you realize that you are filling the gap. It's you running around from location to location, making sure that all the townspeople have what they need. It's you. And like I said, that's sort of by design. And they're hoping that you won't do anything about it. You just do it. And that makes you a good project manager. Suspect. So the diagnostic thinking, it really boils down to this. And this is, again, where things start to get easy, because this is so overwhelming to try to think about how to unpack these things, because they're real. I sort of make jokes about them. And like I said, I've been doing this a long time, so I've earned that right. But it's not funny, but it kind of is. Diagnostic thinking, right? As a project manager, it's like, let's be honest. You're doing 4 things, right? You're managing information, you're managing communication, you're managing time, and you're managing what I package as number 4, which is like delivery, right? Inside delivery is client services, stakeholder management, all your materials, whatever it is that you're delivering, and the outcome, right? That is a job, an initiative. You have what it is, the information. You have communication around that information, as for everyone to need to know, they need to know. Time, which is the deadline. Time, which is how much time you have, how much resources, all that goes into, that's the metric in which it has to be. The bucket is how much time it's going to take to do all the things against whatever deadline's been given to you. And the client services, like I said, by the time I get so riled up about these first three, because I have a lot to say about them, I'm like dead on the floor by number 4. But quite frankly, number 4 is the most important thing. It is the thing. It is the most important thing. Like I said, the delivery of what it is that you are selling. It is the only thing that matters. I mean, honestly, start there, right? And I guarantee you, project managers who have really, really good relationships with their clients gives you a lot of leverage. Not only just because it makes you so much better at what you do to service them. I mean, if you want to, which I've done, and it's served me so well. There are so many lessons and ideas and things that can spark creativity in how you think about attacking something. Like, look across industries for inspiration. And if you want to be good at client services, study hospitality. Go to a 5-star hotel happy hour, because, bar, restaurant. Understand, and just luxury, because I have a sort of a difficult relationship with the word luxury and things that, because it shouldn't be dependent on people getting good customer service because of that price point. Like, it's kind of a shitty, like, why doesn't the DMV treat you like Hermes does? Because that's just how life works. But you see my point? Like, understanding how to truly be in a service mindset and in a project management position. Usually, like I said, it's the thing that gets hit the most because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to maintain those type. People are, that's part of this, right? Is managing the people relationship part of this. And there's a lot of leverage that can gain in your efforts to change things if the client is on your side. If you guys are on the same page and you're working for that client and their outcome is, they're just as invested in a good outcome as you are, right? So sometimes they can be your biggest champion in that sense. And clients have, and I've seen it happen, it's happened to me, clients will go to bat for you because you're doing the things. Not the other way around, kind of being mad at the organization and sort of the client takes the hit because of that. I'm telling you, I've seen it time and time again. Most of the time, they won't tell you, a client, if you're doing something, not you personally, but if you're doing something as an organization that just doesn't work for them, they just kind of like, God, everyone's busy. They don't even have the time to deal with it. But if you ask them, like, hey, just wanted to check in about, when we deliver packages to you, is there anything about our delivery to you that you would, improve upon? Is there something that, I can do better or different or, be more in tune with your workflow or something that could, whatever, you see where I'm going with that. And I've had this happen. People are like, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, if I give you a deadline that's 10 a.m. and you give it to me at 10 a.m., it takes 3 hours to get up from the mailroom to me. So your 10 a.m. is my 1 p.m. by the time it gets to me. I mean, that's good information to have. I mean, usually they'll be screaming at you if a deadline was missed to that degree, but you see my point in that. Sometimes it's just like, they're mostly padding their deadline, so let's just say the thing. You see my point. Is that'd be good intel, wouldn't it? Silly things like that matter. Or say like, what, actually, like, you don't need to CC, this many people, just whatever. There's things that are probably little wins, and the intel that you gain by knowing, like, again, hospitality. Most 5-star hotels have, if you're a repeat customer, they will have a file on you. Like, oh, Jack likes the New York Times and the Financial Times outside his door, every morning. He doesn't like when the towels are all washed on the second day because he likes to go to the pool, whatever. I'm throwing shit against the wall here, but you see my point. There are known knowns that over time, that's how you build a relationship. That you're listening, you care about my experience here. It matters to you, and people remember it. Right? I mean, this is like 101 stuff, but think about in an organization when you're that inundated with just surviving your workflow to just at the end of the day try to get things done. Nobody's asking you about your mint on your pillow. Nobody's asking at an enterprise level anything that is not 100% on a need to know basis, and that's unfortunate because to me, like I said, it's the relationships that are the thing that are the gold in my opinion. Right? So gaps in the workflow. Once you have your map, talk about the things that software people call them blockers. I've sort of adopted that term just because it makes sense to me. I've listed 5 of them here, right? 5 gaps in the workflow, which are just ways that, so when you start to think about building something that's simple, what are the 4 things that I'm doing? What are the 4 buckets that I can create that if I have some problems, at least I can put them in a gigantic, very broad category to start dissecting them? Information, communication, time, and delivery. How might those things be blocked, right? Approval process, handoffs, data, ownership, feedback loops, right? Tasks get stuck. No one knows who to escalate it to. Handoffs, missing between teams. Work gets duplicated or lost. Data siloed across departments. Dependencies can't be tracked. Ownership. Who owns what on shared deliverables? Multiple people think someone else is handling it. Feedback loops. No system for early warning signs. Problems surface at the 11th hour. And again, no escalation protocols. Whose problem is that? If you're working across an organization, you might be in the same level of a position as those people. You have no power over them. You have to keep pushing and then you have to escalate it. But if you escalate something in a triage moment, there's not enough intel or time for that to be done successfully over time at scale. Like those things need to be figured out and documented along the way. And when people say like process improvement, like that's what that means. That's what that means. And people just don't do it. They keep it, they go through all, like they don't even document any of the data that's probably so powerful and meaningful that it's not going to be documented in any of these other training materials in any other way. But some of these things are so valuable as intel as to know how to do the things that you need to do across an organization, but they're nowhere. They're on someone's desktop, in someone's head. It's just like the course of doing business. And then when that person leaves, here we are again. And so SOPs, not really. That's not even how those show up. They're not standard operating procedures. I mean, truthfully, honestly, most companies don't have them to the degree that people, it's like consultant speak. It's like, well, mine your, process for inefficiencies and we'll do it. Get out of here. I mean, that's just not how people actually really do their jobs. So you have to find something in the interim of really good, robust documentation and not some weird, ridiculous SOP that's buried somewhere on SharePoint or something like that. So that is to say, right? Build your map, find out where the holes are. So the path forward from here then is what? What do you do? Once you have some intel, as we've said, there's 3 things that you can do. Number 1, change the things that you can change without getting or needing approval. What can I do? Better, different, that I don't need anybody for. Number 2 is if you can't do it, how can you build a case and get support for change? So that could be going to someone, a manager, up the hierarchy, is to say this is what this is happening. And these are the things, again, after intimately mapping out your workflow, understanding those dependencies, understanding what the blockers are, being able to name them, having buckets to put them in. And you can pretty easily start to extricate yourself from being the filler of the gap, because that is personal. That is on you if you don't do that. So you get to just quite frankly take this thing that sort of becomes outside of yourself, and it becomes a third thing, which is there's project management, right, holistically. And then there's what I'm talking about is to take that part that is not project managing, right? So you are not by single effort alone going to be firefighting your way through these things, because obviously any good project manager worth their weight will just get burnt out by one of these situations and just leave, and it's a shame because I've seen it happen a million times. So you are able to then start to extricate the own personal blame and ownness and take a little bit of the pressure of the load bearing wall of it, of you replacing organizational structure by trying to be a hero to just get the job done. You pull yourself away from that and you start to document and take this business case to say, like, these are the things that are happening. These are the reasons that we're at risk for this job perhaps not to deliver because of this. So, I mean, honestly, it's really the only way out. Do what you can, get support for the things you can't do. And the third thing is 100%, there's a very good chance that nothing will change, because some of these things are, depending on the organization, too big, too systemic, and that you're just not in a position to help, and that's realistic, or change anything. But you can't unlearn everything that we just talked about, as far as if you get that deep into it and you start to understand how to do some of these things, which is diagnose what the problem is, name it, understand it. You can't unlearn that, right? So you can take that with you. So the last thing is left, that's growth. I mean, you can upskill yourself into thinking, right? If you're a junior PM or even a PM mid in your career. I mean, this isn't specific to experience. You could be very, very high up the hierarchical ladder and still be dealing with something that I'm describing, just at a higher scale, right? The concept is the same. You can still grow from it. You can still become more, and this is specifically to the junior PMs, you can start to develop a very much a leadership mindset, right? Of being able to, they call it servant leadership, right? So there's a lot of that, which is for the people that are working under you in that context. You can find the things and you can remove the blockers for them. But if you don't know what to look for, if you don't know how to name it, if you don't have the vocabulary and the language for change, I mean, it's just all reactive. So again, there's three things I really, really want to take away from this little diatribe I'm on is, number one, simplify it. Pick four, and I just picked them because as a project manager, it just seemed very simple to me. If there's other things that seem more applicable to what your situation is, but like I said, information, communication, time, and delivery. Those are the gigantic buckets. Find where those gaps are, and then I just, like I said, named a few. That's not specific to you, whatever those are. And then the path forward is those three things: direct control, influence, or growth. To me, start there. It's not the whole story, but it's a story to get you started. So that's basically what I'm going to put the pin in it here. What I've started to do is gather some project managers, because I sit at a very different vantage point now. I'm just sort of like a grumpy old man on my lawn, just yelling at the wind. But there's project managers who are actively, and that's why I did the talk for them, is because they're literally neck deep in these situations. So I had a great conversation today, which I will incorporate into this work, with a project manager, and I'm going to continue to do that, because I'm like, don't take it from me. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. Like, if you think things are going great, fantastic. But you should probably ask the people who are doing the work for you, because they have some things to say. And I can guarantee you, put a bunch of project managers in a room together and they will tell you what's wrong. And not for the reasons that you think. They actually want change, because, like I said, it's their literal job to deliver. So again, that was the whole thing of my talk, is it's my job. You've given me this job, and now I don't have what I need to do the job. So I will leave you there. I promise I'll keep working on the filmmaking part. Like I said, I doubled down so hard on that, I didn't do anything for a really long time. So again, bear with me. And I think we're out there. I think the doers, the operators, the people who holistically would rather get their hands dirty rather than, that's just, I mean, I think it's a type of person who does the things, the workers, the the toilers, the people who get themselves into trouble because they see the whole picture. And again, it's the best trait that you can have as a project manager, but it tends to be a little bit of a burden if you're saddled into an organization that's dysfunctional, because it's like pulling a thread and you can't stop pulling it because you're trying to find where the root cause is. So my point is that if more people talk about how stupid it is not to fix it, because also, again, I think in my next episode is literally going to drill down on operations being a cost center, and the biggest lie that's ever been told about that. It is so much more expensive not to fix it, and I can prove it to some degree because the maths for sure, how ridiculously expensive it is to not fix these things. And so you're thinking about how much more money you're going to spend on ads when, let's just say it works, Gary, in marketing. Let's just say it works and you get all the customers. If the systems in place that you have do not work to deliver the work or thing, whatever is you're selling, why bother? I mean, why bother, Gary? Why bother? That's what I don't understand. The direct correlation between wanting to spend more money on AdSense or whatever nonsense that is of the moment of the day. I mean, and you won't fix the structure. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't make sense to more people, but I think we're out there. So that's it. I bid you a good night, and ouch, almost knocked the lamp over. I will see you soon.